sort of getting frustrated by his association with Harry and Meghan, in particular Meghan, because he had a very dismissive and I would argue very undiplomatic response to a Times of London author asking him about Harry and Meghan.
She was there with him, holding him tight and pretending they were best friends ever known. And if you look right at the end when he moves away,
Harry and Meghan, you associate with the negative narrative. And so if I was Tyler Perry, I would not have invited her to the Paley Center because
this isn't some wild rumor. It's all legal. The very clause that let Tyler Perry burn everything down.
Meghan and their move, and Tyler Perry lending them his home, his jet, a whole bunch of things, even allegedly security as well. And I can't.
Let's rewind to the moment the fairy tale twisted into a heist. Harry and Meghan didn't simply leave Buckingham Palace. They pulled off a royal jailbreak with Hollywood-style precision. This wasn't chaos, it was pure choreography, cameras, cover stories, and a backup plan so tight that even palace insiders never saw it coming. And standing right at the center of it all was the most unexpected player of them all, Tyler Perry.
Prepared to just allow Tyler Perry to have his moment on his big night, Angela. She had to steal the limelight from him.
well, she
At first, everything seemed perfect. Meghan spoke about Perry with heartfelt gratitude, calling him her protector and her rock during their darkest hour. Netflix specials, emotional interviews, and carefully crafted press stories painted him as the hero who helped the Sussexes rebuild their world. But then, almost overnight, his name disappeared, like he'd been erased from their royal redemption story.
I think this would ever come up in a conversation, especially with a British publication. But what I also thought was rather interesting is that I think Tyler Perry's antagonism towards the
One moment, Perry was proudly known as Lilibet's godfather, mentioned in the press and even hinted at in palace briefings. The next, it was like he vanished from history. Mentions were wiped, photos tucked away, and even Lilibet's Wikipedia page was quietly edited to erase every trace of Uncle Tyler. It felt as if the man who once sheltered them in their most fragile moment had suddenly become a ghost.
She pushes him here to there and back again. She can just be concentrating on herself, or she's feeling.
Why? Because the mogul's empire was suddenly under attack. A massive $260 million lawsuit slammed Tyler Perry Studios, accusing him of running a toxic workplace filled with bullying and intimidation. In an instant, his name turned into a PR nightmare, and Meghan's team reacted with surgical precision, wiping out anything that connected the Sussexes to Perry from every corner of the internet.
It's based off a false assumption that Meghan Markle has given him, because Meghan Markle has tried time and time again
To the public, it looked like careful distancing, but to Perry, it felt like pure betrayal. He had put his own reputation on the line to protect them, and now, when he needed even a hint of loyalty, all he got was silence. But Meghan's team made one critical mistake. Tyler Perry doesn't forget. He documents everything.
And globally wonderful. But I think that that's how she is. You know, she hangs on. When she looks at anyone, she always looks as if she's incredibly surprised, and she hasn't seen them for 25 years.
Every message, every photo, every tear-filled call, all carefully saved. In Hollywood, loyalty is the currency, and receipts are the armor that keeps you safe. And Tyler Perry had every single one of them.
Yet that made her life very difficult, when in fact it was really Meghan Markle. And the time
That fairy tale invitation, the one where Harry and Meghan jetted off to Beverly Hills to stay in Perry's lavish mansion, came with paperwork, real paperwork.
You know, it's so wonderful, but it's all acting and nonsense. And the thing is, once we have all understood what she's really like, you can.
Hidden deep inside that residency agreement was a clause that seemed harmless back then, but now it's the ticking bomb fueling all the drama. It stated that, in the event of public disavowal by either party, the non-breaching side may disclose context necessary to protect reputation. Translation? If Meghan publicly erases or denies Tyler Perry, he's legally free to talk. No NDAs, no cryptic posts. He can speak as loud as he wants.
to actually discuss that with Tyler, but of course he's not having it because Meghan Markle had an agenda to sell him, and it was
When Meghan started wiping away every trace of Perry, that quiet and calculated deletion became a breach of their agreement. And just like that, Perry gained the legal right to expose everything he had seen, heard, and recorded, every secret moment laid bare.
Behaves like that because she wants people to admire her, but actually underneath, she's a very different person. She's very bad-tempered. People don't want to work for her.
And let's be clear, Perry isn't some gossip chasing headlines. He's a filmmaker, and he keeps the camera rolling long after the world stops watching. He had recordings, notes, drafts, and even behind-the-scenes plans from their Oprah interview. He knew the story, the strategy, and every piece of the spin.
Bought into, and you can't help but wonder, is he starting to think that all of that was a bit of hooey because he didn't?
And now he had every right to speak his truth. Meghan's silence wasn't protection, it was the key that unlocked Perry's entire vault. And he was ready to let the truth roll out for everyone to see.
It was, that was beaten by that. They thought that she was absolutely delightful. And when I saw her, I thought she was absolutely delightful, but not for very long. And then
It began quietly, just 58 seconds of leaked audio. The clip was so short that many dismissed it as fake until they heard the voices. Meghan's voice came through, calm yet calculating, saying, "If we overuse the Diana card, they'll say we're manufacturing grief." The shock was instant.
Only with her in some ways at the Paley Center event recently there to honor him. So I thought this would be an interesting topic.
And in the background came Harry's weary voice, replying, "Netflix doesn't want us crying again. Not too much this time. That was it. No intro, no outro, just raw, unfiltered reality." But those 58 seconds were enough to shatter the carefully crafted illusion of victimhood. The image of genuine emotion was gone, replaced by something far colder, a script.
Sort of hiding what she's really like. But I think, she sees a red carpet. It's ballistically exciting. And she doesn't want to go. She won't listen to it.
She refused to respond, and the internet exploded. Sussex defenders disappeared overnight as commentators swarmed the story. Even mainstream outlets jumped in with headlines asking, were Meghan and Harry's confessions rehearsed? And standing in the middle of the storm was Tyler Perry, holding every single receipt.
And please do, we would love to have you back. We talk about all things related to royals. I also have royal fashion news, and I just did an amazing both live stream, and I have a video I'll be doing soon on Queen Mary debuting.
For Meghan, it was pure panic. For Perry, it was silence, the kind that's far more dangerous than words, because when Perry goes quiet, it means he's preparing something big. And for Harry, it was nothing short of collapse.
It's a normal thing from her. And she tries to stay as long as possible and give every different this way, that way, the other way.
That single clip sent Harry into a spiral. He was pacing, snapping at staff, and muttering about betrayal. Within just 48 hours, he was gone, boarding a private jet to the UK alone. No press, no Meghan, just a man fleeing the wreckage of a brand once built on truth.
Pictures as possible are in the papers, and my goodness, the Mail had loads and loads and loads and loads of them, so she gets what she wants.
The thing is though, Angela,
California's sunshine had never felt colder. Meghan's PR team went into overdrive, flooding the internet with soft focus clips of her baking with Archie, meditating and smiling in dreamy garden shoots. But the public wasn't fooled. Nobody was buying it.
When I saw these first comments, of course, it was sort of a negative slant in the Daily Mail, but I was thinking to myself, do I want to just do a short on this? But then I'm like, no, my thoughts.
For years, she had sold the story of healing and rebirth, but now the world saw it for what it was, a performance. Behind the scenes, brands started slipping away in silence. A luxury skincare line that once proudly partnered with her suddenly went quiet. A boutique wine label canceled their collaboration. Even Spotify, the platform that paid millions for her podcast, was reportedly reaching out to Perry's team, not for comment, but for confirmation.
Now, Tyler Perry, if you don't know, is a producer, actor, director who has, I would argue, I don't know how much of his stuff I've seen. So if you're unfamiliar, this is him. I haven't really seen that much of his stuff. Like he did the Medea franchise. And
inside her PR firm, panic quickly turned to chaos. Consultants scrambled into emergency meetings, influencers were ordered to flood social media with positive posts, and damage control scripts were written overnight. But it was useless, like trying to patch a sinking ship with stickers. Through it all, Tyler Perry stayed completely silent. No denial, no confirmation, just stillness. And that silence spoke louder than any press release ever could.
I've covered red carpets for a long time, in my.
Meanwhile, Meghan's digital team began noticing something eerie. Every time they pushed out more healing content, Perry's circle would quietly drop something new. A quote here, a still frame there, a faint snippet of background audio. It wasn't revenge, it was precision, a slow and deliberate bleed. Perry was draining their image piece by piece.
This award at the Paley Center, and the Times of London decided to interview him. And of course, this may bother him, and I imagine it would. It says Tyler Perry, the billionaire who lent Harry and Meghan his LA.
This time, it was Harry, his voice clearer, his tone sharper, the sound of pacing echoing in the background. "We have to steer the dock," he muttered. "If we look too polished, it's fake, but if we lean into pain too hard, we look manipulative." The words hit like a confession caught in real time.
Initially, because to a UK audience, most likely this is the only reason they recognize his name. Now, I can't be definitive in that, but some of the roles where he's a bit smaller or doesn't.
Off camera, Meghan's voice answered softly. Then we show the garden scenes, calm, grounded, real. Nothing too emotional until the third act. That single line shattered everything. The illusion of authenticity was gone in an instant. What the world once believed was heartfelt and spontaneous was exposed as direction, carefully staged for the perfect effect.
Is actually hate red carpets. They go on the red carpet because they have something to promote. It is part of the job. So you do the red carpet because you are selling your film, right? Or you are selling your perfume brand, and it is part of the game. The bizarre thing...
Clips from the Oprah interview began playing side by side with the leaked audio, and the contrast was devastating. Every pause, every teardrop, every sigh now looked rehearsed, like pieces of a performance. The Sussexes weren't sharing their truth anymore. They were selling it.
People don't really know who he is. Like, even in the United States, I'm not even aware of how he's made $1 billion, to be quite honest, because I've never seen much of his work. But he is obviously a really, really good businessman. The stuff he makes is not to my taste. But I will say as well, I've been listening.
Commentators branded it the biggest PR disaster of the decade. Even celebrities who once defended Meghan fell silent. The powerful media machine she had built turned against her overnight, and through it all, Tyler Perry stayed silent. But this time, his silence sounded like thunder, because everyone knew that if there was a second tape, there had to be more.
Selling things abroad, comedy doesn't always translate all that well. Now, it's a bit different since obviously we speak English both in the UK and in America, but I would imagine some of his humor probably wouldn't translate well to a British audience, if I'm being quite honest. Now, you're free to correct me in the comments, but I think
by now, the Sussex narrative was crumbling fast. Their greatest weapon, media sympathy, was disappearing before their eyes. Networks stopped pretending, and publicists began whispering what everyone already knew. The royal rebels had turned into Hollywood liabilities. One major streaming executive reportedly called them too risky for rebranding. Even Netflix, their biggest supporter, quietly started internal legal reviews over the growing wave of leaks.
They did it this way because this is how he's most recognizable to the British. And they want to get the most legs out of this article as possible because they might have flown somebody out there to cover him. And this was the best thing they could do.
Meanwhile, Tyler Perry's reputation was climbing back up. Studios that had once backed away during his lawsuit were now circling again, sensing a golden chance to rebuild his image through the very scandal that tried to destroy it. Perry wasn't unleashing chaos, he was restoring context, revealing how he had protected two royals only to be erased from their story.
At the moment.
Yes, well, we've seen that really. Now she isn't busy. She might pretend to be busy. She might be with her children.
Insiders revealed he never wanted revenge. All he ever wanted was respect and a chance to correct the record that had turned him into a prop in their drama. But here's the irony. The quieter Perry stayed, the more powerful he became, and the more Harry began to fall apart.
He's not super happy about it because he wants to be known for his own success, not just being connected to Harry and Meghan. And of course,
while Meghan clung desperately to control in California, Harry's world was crumbling in silence. Sources claimed he barely slept, pacing through the night and replaying the leaked clips over and over. His calls to Meghan grew shorter, sharper, and colder with each passing day.
they show this still here from Harry and Meghan's reality TV show where he's there. They're on his property that he lent them. And so
one insider revealed that Harry completely broke down after hearing the second clip. In that moment, he knew it was over, not just the PR war, but everything. He reportedly made a few quiet calls, not to his US advisors or PR strategists, but directly to Charles's office. Nothing official, just gentle feelers, a desperate way of saying, "I'm not okay."
a bit about this time period, and it didn't go particularly well for him.
Within days, Harry quietly boarded a private jet and slipped back into the UK under the radar. No entourage, no flashing cameras, no security convoy, just Harry, completely alone. The palace refused to confirm it, but insiders did. He was staying at a secluded countryside estate tied to longtime royal allies.
Conversational intimacy evaporating. Now, I would argue, and I don't know, like this could be an interesting question, and it's one where
For the first time in years, the runaway prince wasn't fleeing the royals, he was running back to them. And that sent shockwaves through Meghan's camp, because if Harry chose to separate himself publicly, it wouldn't just be a PR disaster, it would mark a historic shift in loyalty.
I decided to ask this earlier or later in the interview, because technically you should probably ask this question later. If you're thinking to yourself, hey, this might get a rise out of him, this might get, this might be baiting him again.
Weeks went by in total silence from both sides until it happened. It wasn't a video or another leaked clip this time, but a document. A signed statement dated just 3 weeks after Harry and Meghan had moved into Perry's mansion. It detailed their exit plan, PR objectives, and the full rebrand blueprint, a literal roadmap for their truth campaign. And at the very bottom of the page sat 2 unmistakable signatures.
Aggressive with this response, so let's wait until later. Or this is the other interesting thought that Tyler should have considered.
That single document shattered the illusion completely. It proved that their entire post-royal journey, from the Oprah interview to the Netflix deal, wasn't heartfelt honesty at all, but carefully pre-planned positioning. The backlash was instant and brutal. Commentators declared it the death of authenticity, while brand experts labeled it nothing less than a royal collapse.
Tyler Perry in some ways, and was just thinking this wouldn't elicit much of a response because it's just almost a throwaway question. So that would be
Tyler didn't have to utter a single word. That one page spoke louder than any interview ever could. The world finally saw that he wasn't just a footnote in their story, he was the architect. And in trying to erase him, Meghan had unknowingly erased the very foundation of her own fairy tale.
Or anybody else's children, but she hasn't got anything else much going on, so she wants to hang on to this. I mean, I think that's what...
Today, the story lingers like a wound that refuses to heal. Tyler Perry, once celebrated as Meghan's savior, now stands tall, calm, and completely unbothered. Not angry, not vengeful, just finished with being erased from the story he helped create.
It helps her feel that she is worthwhile. I think when you've got an awful lot going on, It's quite embarrassing.
Meanwhile, Meghan is struggling to cling to the crumbling edges of her empire. Her new lifestyle brand launch collapsed in spectacular fashion, turning comment sections into digital battlegrounds. Even magazines once known for their glowing coverage began quietly passing on her pitches.
So you come along, quick bow, quick curtsy, and off you go because you want to speak to people and do these other things. But this is, she loves it, and she wants to get as much attention.
Oh, yeah. And she wasn't.
Possible.
As for Harry, insiders describe him as changed, quieter, distant, and lost in reflection. The man who once gave up everything for love now seems to realize he was never truly free at all, just carefully managed.
On his big night, Angela, she had to steal the limelight from him.
Well, she was there with him, holding him tight and pretending they were best friends.
And through it all, Tyler Perry's vault stays locked. For now, because everyone knows there's more waiting inside, more audio, more documents, more truths buried deep beneath the glittering California sun. This isn't the end of the Sussex saga. It's the beginning of a new chapter where the man they try to erase now holds the pen. And Harry's sudden flight back to the UK wasn't just panic, it was realization. The fairy tale had finally turned into a script, and the cameras were still rolling. They thought they had outsmarted the palace, but in the end, it wasn't royalty that brought their empire down, it was the receipts. And Tyler Perry, he's just getting started.